What's going on? It's Justeeni here. You read the title right. This game is just 5 turns, but that doesn't mean there isn't a lot to unpack because Polytopia is a pretty complex game in a lot of ways. So at any given moment, there can be a lot of things going on. So with this game, again, just 5 turns. This is a tiny Pangea. It's an Omaji mirror match. You can look at the score to really tell. And I've got the Lighthouse spawn. So that is some information that the opponent might have if they happen to know that I might be going Omaji. Otherwise, they might think I'm just going to turn 0 try, but maybe with terrain vision, they do know that I'm going Omaji. And I know that they don't have a Lighthouse spawn. And immediately, that's actually really important here. So if we kind of break things down already, if they have a Lighthouse spawn, they would be either here, or here, or here. Keep in mind, this is not traditional quadrant-based map spawning, so lighthouse spawns are not guaranteed to be in the north on a tiny map. It can be anywhere. I mean, see my own lighthouse spawn in the south. But I know that the opponent doesn't have a lighthouse spawn. It's impossible to have one and also start with 520 points. So I know that they are not in any of these tiles. So where could they be? Well, they could be maybe somewhere like around this general area, or maybe this general area. They can't really be in the center. Like, it'd be kind of weird for them to spawn like really close. But some takeaways that I can have is I shouldn't really go in the center myself, because wherever they spawn, they can always reach the center pretty easily. So with all that in mind, I decide to move to the side. And in this case, it doesn't really matter too much what side to go to. I kind of just chose this one because I saw a bit of water on this side, so maybe there just isn't much on this side. Maybe they're on this side. Who knows? And I see some fruit. So what this tells me with the fruit is, again, well, obviously they can't spawn here. They can't have spawned here. And if they had spawned here on this tile in question, or really anywhere in this area, then these fruits would have to be their border growth tiles. And that's kind of a lot of fruit with this border growth. You see that I don't really have a lot. So statistically, it's pretty unlikely. I think it's more likely that there's going to be a village on one of these tiles. So I'm guessing that there's a village here and that they aren't in this area because it seems very improbable. And you kind of have to play the odds sometimes. So that means they must be anywhere up here. So already kind of a lot of information just with one movement and some score counting to really see what's going on. But let's continue. So sure enough, the village is there. And keep in mind, I'm not moving towards the center because if they happen to be pretty close and they just see me even once, they get meeting stars for free. They hit my rider and they potentially deny me this village. And you always want to stay as far away as possible from the center just to ensure that. Also another thing, if we go look at score, you see that they have 560 points. That means that they trained a rider and moved to explore more tiles than I did. I explored 3 tiles here. That means they must have gone into the middle, revealing 5 tiles. Because also with the lighthouse spawn, they have extra, or I have 5 less points because of that. So they've revealed 3 more tiles than me total, so 2 more with that, plus 1 more with the lighthouse not revealed. So they moved kind of more centrally, so yet another reason to not move towards the center because they seem to be going a lot more aggressive, a lot more risky. And so I should kind of play safe as a response to that. If they happen to be, you know, up here and they're expanding towards the center, or if they're like over here and they expand towards the center, I don't want my rider to be caught in that business. So we're kind of staying away from that. We're able to secure this village. If they happen to have a rider close by, then I can knock them. Parrying the riders is also very good for that sort of reason. So now I can go in the village, and I find 2 ruins here. This time I'm actually moving this rider in front, because again, I'm really confident that they aren't over here. And sure enough, like if we look at score as well, they've revealed some more fog. But in this case, they only revealed, I believe, 5 fog tiles, so that likely means they're maybe closing in on a village somewhere else, because if they didn't find a village, they'd be trying to reveal a lot more fog. So I managed to find these 2 ruins. I'm pretty confident this area is safe, and that they must be over on this side of the map. In this case, I'm right. And 2 ruins provide some really interesting questions, but those questions are really going to be answered next turn, because I'm going to first upgrade my capital, pick and explore. So why am I upgrading my capital and not this city here? Well, there are a few reasons. First off, if we look at the trajectory of each of these explorers, this capital explorer is going to go one of these directions and then meander from there. And it should have enough time to go all the way around and basically reveal everything I want. This explorer here is actually going to go this way first because there are 2 fog tiles. It's not going to go this way because there's only 1 fog tile. And it won't go any other way because there's 0 fog tiles. So it's going to go here, then backtrack, then go here, then go up, then go to one of these directions depending on what's there. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tiles before it gets to anything that I care about, and I only have 7 movement left. If they're on this corner, there's no way I'm reaching them. I would have to move my rider back if I want to funnel the explore, but that's a huge waste of a rider move. Also, on top of that, there's not any guarantee that I actually want to take this village, because what if there's a rider close by? I might want to move off of this village to snipe them from taking another potential village. Maybe, for example, if there's a village right here or right here. These are valid spots for it to spawn. Keep in mind, it can't spawn here. But I could take them off the village and, do something there. Keep in mind, they currently have captured a city based on the score count, so if their riders are split and they're on a village here, they cannot recapture. So I go for the explorer on the capital because of all that. And I get really nice information. I meet the opponent, only 3 meeting stars, yes, but it is worth getting that information right now. And we can see they also expanded towards the edge. And yeah, we can also kind of see how they moved. So they definitely sent their first rider here, because remember, they revealed 5 tiles, so they reveal 5 tiles with that rider. And then it looks like they kind of decided to backtrack with 1 rider and then explore here with the other rider for some reason, even though this isn't going to give them anything. And also, very crucially, we can see that they workshopped their capital. And this is very important because this tells us what their vision looks like. So we can actually draw that out. So we know that they've got this vision around their capital, but also, since they sent that rider on that tile that we talked about earlier, their vision looks something like this. Maybe they also meandered onto this tile for some reason, but in any case, it doesn't really affect the important thing, which is that they don't see either of these ruins, which is kind of a given, which really helps us because that means, well, between these 2 ruins, this is going to be the more central, more contested one, also closer to this city. So let's go for this ruin first. If I'm getting a veteran sword, anything of any use, it also keeps my rider in a better position. If they train a rider on their capital, I can always consider hitting their rider if need be. And keep in mind, no matter where my rider is, I have that option, but also they can attack my rider back. Now, yeah, I want to be able to get this ruin though, because if I'm going for the other one, they might have time to return this rider and actually start fighting for this ruin. So I go for this one first, not the other one. Also, this ruin cannot give an explorer because there's no fog within a 2-tile radius. When there's no fog in a 2-tile radius, 0% chance of explorer. This has a lot of fog. I could get an explorer, and explorer would not be good here. I already have enough information. I want something better. Now I also make a rider. I have 3 stars, and on the next turn I'll have 4 stars, so that's enough for a workshop if I want it. And also, kind of an important thing is you want to make sure you're training your units early. There's no reason to really wait. There's villages I can be grabbing. I can control more space in the center of the map. So yeah, we're going to train that rider right now. Be able to fight for the center, maybe fight for this village. And now they do move here. So they did not move here earlier. And if we update our vision, well, I guess we can play the rest of their turn first. They go for another upgrade. Workshop. And again, let's update their vision. So we can see in this case, this is what it should look like. They still do not see me yet. That's the important thing. So I've gotten meeting stars from them, but they have not gotten meeting stars from me. And then you'll also see at the beginning of this turn, there's really no reason to wait with the ruin, because it could give something very useful. I get resources in this case. And then I make a rider here and go on this ruin. And this looks very strange at first. So going on the ruin does make sense. But why do I train a rider? Why don't I just workshop? Well, there's kind of a few reasons. Because you might just be thinking, well, economically, it's going to be best to go for a workshop, especially since in this case I can afford it. But you do miss out on other opportunities that can prove themselves to be more valuable. One thing you can think of to kind of help gauge unit moves versus economy in the opening is to kind of equate 1 tile of movement to 1 star of value. And in this case, by training a rider, it's effectively able to get 2 stars of value per turn. That's like having a workshop, as is. But also, I can potentially go for a road play next turn. That can give my riders more movement. If I'm placing a road here, that's like generating an extra star of value per rider moved. If I do it like here, that's as if I got a workshop already, because both of these riders will be able to move 3. And if I'm killing a 3-star unit in addition to that, if this rider were to stay a seemingly safe distance away, like moving here, well, I could still take out this rider. But more importantly, again, keep in mind they still don't see me yet, because of that vision I talked about earlier. If they train anything on this capital, say they train a warrior here, this road play can actually win the game. If I just place my road here, now I can actually just go in for the siege, block accordingly, and just win on the spot. So that's something that the opponent has to be playing around. Also, with these road plays, if they don't train anything, then these riders have to be very careful where they move. If they ever end up too close to the capital, say this rider just moves in an innocuous place right here. Well, in this case, it is actually just barely safe because of these mountains. But if this rider were to just do anything like moving here, that seems like a normal move. Well, then I can hit this rider and then place a road to their capital and win. So this kind of extra flexibility from the road plays far outweighs the benefits of the workshop right now. Because if I do workshop right now, instead of having 6 stars and 5 star per turn, I would have 2 stars and 7 star per turn, which is only 9 stars next turn. Not enough to make a road play. I can also consider training a rider on my capital, but same thing. That road play just opens up so much. It's way more valuable to have that in this position compared to workshops. So we don't go for it right now. And they move like so. And I get a star ruin here, because if we look at this initially, I don't quite have the plays. Again, if one of these tiles wasn't a mountain, I would be able to just siege both cities and win. But then I get a star ruin, which is just perfect here. Now I can actually win the game here. And maybe you guys can see the sequence, because now in this case, it's pretty clear. I can buy my roads, place 2 of them, go for the double siege, and win. Pretty neat stuff. And you can really see all those small incremental things really making a difference here. The decision to go workshops, versus going for the explorer. You can see, like, economy-wise, like, even with the pop road, I actually had less economy than them. But really, when you consider economy to kind of be multifaceted in the sense that units can kind of provide an indirect form of economy with all these moves, you can kind of see I'm getting plenty of value by keeping my riders together. This is very efficient because you can see, again, these riders kind of leapfrogging. When I mentioned earlier, right, each tile of movement a unit's getting in the early game is basically equal to about 1 star of value. It's as if both of these riders are basically workshops, just kind of traversing across the map, getting tons and tons of information. So declining a workshop on my capital to instead get the explorer not only gets me meaning stars, which allows me to train another rider, which will then basically act as a workshop, in addition to the fact that I get 1 star per turn from upgrading the city. Also, extra vision enables me to move my riders around even more and do it in such a way that I'm not risking anything, because the main drawback of using riders and all that instead of workshops is, well, if your units die, then that's really bad, and also, you know, you do still need stars at the end of the day, otherwise you can't afford tax and stuff like that, or more units. But yeah, going for this rider here and all that, they were just able to provide so much value. And you can also kind of see, like, with the opponent, like, if we really want to see what went wrong for them here, they decided to, oh, they had a ruin. So they went for that, going for turn 1 ruin, and they actually did get an explorer. I assumed, actually, with score counting, that it was a village. Maybe someone with more knowledge than me may have realized that is actually not the case. However, despite them getting the meaning stars, they still didn't have very adequate vision, and as a result they workshop, but they're still missing a lot of crucial information. I am getting this ruin, and then here they go for this fatal workshop, just kind of keeping them too far behind. And now they're just defenseless in this position. Really interesting game, though. Again, only 5 turns, but you can really just see how much there is to unpack in these 5 turns. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Like and sub, and have a good one.